very much looking forward to our next. It's not a panel, it's not a keynote, it's a fireside chat without a fireside chat. Nevertheless, a very special format for an in-depth talk. So we are moving across the pond, and I'm very happy to welcome Eric Woodcock, Manager Digital Electrification at Toyota Motor North America, hard one, and Trishan Paruma, CEO of Hubject North America. And the two of them are going to have a fireside chat on building an owner-focused EV charging experience. So please welcome on stage Trishan and Eric.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well after last night and looking forward to a fireside chat with Toyota North America. Eric, thank you for being here in Berlin. I know it's a long trek out from Texas, but appreciate you being here.
Yep.
Would love to start. Tell us a little bit about your role at Toyota.
Yeah, so we're from Toyota Motor North America. So I think a lot of you may know TME or Toyota Motor Europe. But Toyota Motor North America is based out of Dallas in Texas, and so what I do there, I'm responsible for the home and public charging integrations within the application. Leveraging a lot of the telematics information to create customers' experiences within home and public charging, and so we've been very grateful for the invitation to come out and speak upon this and kind of like explain like what North America and Toyota's been doing. And so that's kind of what I do at Toyota.
Great. Before we kind of get into the strategy and what Toyota's working on in the market, I think it's important to maybe provide some context for North America, for Toyota North America. I had a look at the three of the top 10 selling vehicles in the market, the Camry, the RAV4, the Tundra. I mean, of course they are ICE vehicles, but Toyota's position in the market has been strong for many years. I'm curious to know, how do you take that market dominance and translate it into electric vehicles?
Yeah, this is a good question. I don't think anybody can say that Toyota hasn't already been in the electrification game, but I think we've been very proud of the models that you just mentioned, and I think it goes back to, I think there's a lot of other people that had mentioned this earlier. It's like, what makes a really sticky brand, and what makes someone come back and bring loyalty back to a brand, and I think it is quality. It's reliability. I think the person that picked me up from the airport, he was driving a Mercedes, and I told him, I work for Toyota, and he's like, why are you in Berlin? I'm like, I'm speaking at a conference, and he goes, oh, Toyota, it's like reliability, what a great car, and that comes up almost naturally every time we talk about our company and our vehicles, but you speak about kind of like where we will dominate, or hopefully, plan to dominate in the EV world, or continue the electrification that we've been going on, right, with Prius and obviously we now have bZ4X, but it's kind of the ownership experience. I think one thing I want to frame during this conversation is a lot of people that I've heard this week is talking about the customer, but no one's talking about the owner. I think we need to maybe think about customer experience and what's the UX and the UI around the customer experience, but the customer journey is actually way longer, and it's a 5-year ownership experience, right? So as soon as that customer comes into buying a vehicle at the dealership, or pre-sale even, right, when they're on the website, all the way through to owning the vehicle, charging at home, charging in the public, that's the ownership experience. And I think like if you can really wrap your head around that, the holistic lifetime of ownership is really built on the customer buying a vehicle and owning it, I think that's when we'll be successful, right? Both in the digital experience as well as the driving experience.
So I understand what you're saying about ownership, and in electric vehicles it seems like it's much bigger than just the four wheels and the car.
Yeah.
what does ownership mean to you from an electric vehicle perspective specifically?
Yeah, very contrasting to the models that you had mentioned previously. You know, those models, you buy it and then you leave your house, the light comes on, you go to the gas station and you fill up, right? This is an opportunity to build a new experience and new products and new ownership experience. And that is, you have two sides of this coin, and we've been talking about it all week here, is you've got the public charging side, and then you have the home charging side. And those experiences are quite similar, but contrasting, right? And I think when a customer originally thinks that they're going to purchase an EV, they think, oh, public charging. Oh, I need to figure this out. I think we mention it all the time. In all the studies, we go to the executives, we go to these panels, and we talk about the number one barrier to entry is public charging. And then they buy the car, and then they realize they're spending 80% of their time charging at home. In the United States, people have, you know, single-family homes, they have 2 cars, they have a garage, they have a wall box. So it's very similar in to think like, oh, okay, well, we need to build out these experiences for both home and public charging. And I think to the ownership experience question, to like kind of round it out, Sean, is that you really need to kind of make sure that the customer is taken care of, right? I mean, they just invested $50,000 into you, right? As a company, this person has worked to buy a $50,000 asset and now sits with a 80 kilowatt hour battery, and you're just trying to figure out, hey, what can we do for them, and how can we leverage this ownership experience?
And I guess the natural extension to that is then the digital experience that sits across it. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how Toyota North America are looking at the digital experience and the interaction with the Toyota owner.
Yeah, I think in an interesting way of contrast, we'll start there because you know, Trishan, we've been talking about this for many months, but you know, in 2022, when we launched our first BZ, the you know, both here in Europe and in North America, we really didn't have an understanding of like what we needed, but we did know we needed to have public charging, and we knew we've got this application. So a little bit in a contrast to the European market, the decision that North America made was to, unbeknownst to us at the time, we became our own EMSP. And that was simply by understanding that we wanted to have a little bit more understanding of our customers' data, like perform that ownership experience and build out that customer experience. And yeah, so we built this MSP, and you know, actually, I think I brought something that will kind of show you what we built. So what we've done is we've built a holistic kind of experience within the application here, so that the customer, right, it's not white labeled, it's not a third party solution, it's actually all built inside, and the integrations are with our CPOs, our partnerships that we're about, and on an OCPI platform, and then we have our own payments processing that we manage, and but I think we had a slide that we were going to put up, and we're waiting for that to come on. But anyways, the system that we've built is basically to serve that ownership experience, right? Like, hey, we're going to work with the CPOs, we're going to bring them in, we're going to put them on OCPI, we're going to then manage the situation where you can start a charge, you can pay for a charge, and then after that, the customer will then be able to, continue their journey on to wherever they're charging.
So that's quite a big undertaking to build this digital ecosystem, especially for a OEM that's largely been making cars, right, for the last 100 years. But I guess where do you start in building that ecosystem? And then I sit in the industry and I see it changing every day. Yeah. How do you ensure whatever you're building today is right for your owners in 2-5 years?
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult question to pin. I think what we did was strategic in nature based on kind of the fundamentals of who Toyota is. I think we take a pretty long-term vision and a long-term strategic approach. I think if you go way back into the history, look at our vehicle development, it's very similar on how we try to scale and think of, 5, 10 years out. To your point, this is a different ball game, right? It's kind of funny where like I was sitting on one of these panels or listening to one of the panels earlier this week, and we're in this old World War II airport, and that's the automotive industry.
Yeah.
And then we have this construction crew banging out and trying to figure things out while we're all sitting here and like working and trying to ourselves. And it's like a perfect analogy to like, what is Toyota trying to do? And you guys are trying to support and build a whole new industry to support what we're trying to do. And I think it's ever changing. So to answer your question and round out, like, how do we become flexible on certain things? And, I think that's honestly why we made some of the decisions we did. We know that, from you actually, that like, hey, becoming OCPI, like that's a really like solid like platform that we can at least integrate and be kind of standardized, because that's very normal in North America. Is almost all the well, there's only 5 really, but like all the CPOs that are in North America are trying to become OCPI, and so then we kind of leverage that. We work with them. We hear about them changing, and so. Hope that kind of like rounds out that answer a little bit.
Yeah, there's something in your answer that I want to actually touch upon, which is you kind of mentioned the number of networks in North America, and I think that's really different to the experience here in Europe. I think my impression is there's 4 or 5 really large networks, and then there's a tail of 20 to 30 smaller networks that are popping up regionally.
Yeah.
Curious on your view of how you see that developing in North America, because I think the view over in Europe is, will there be hundreds and thousands of networks? Are we going to have a few big ones and a lot of small ones? How do you see the market developing from a network perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we've had conversations about this as well, and I think, the North American market, right, Tesla started in North America. So they were like, oh, if we're going to be an electric vehicle company, we have to somehow support our customers. It's that ownership experience. It's kind of like the same thought, right? So they ended up just building a network. That's the best network in North America. So you're like, okay, well, they proliferated that. And then you started having a little like smaller ones pop up, if you may have heard EVgo or Electrify America. And those, you really only have about 5 major CPOs. And I think, we'll see what comes. We'll see what new CPOs could pop up. But you then have quite a large elephant in the room that still hasn't gotten involved. Gas stations on every single corner and exit of the interstates in North America. Have you ever driven in the interstates in North America? They're just massive roads, and they have just stations every so often, and you just peel off and you just pop in, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get a snack and I'm going to fill up on my gas. They haven't even gotten involved yet, so those are opportunities. And then you see Walmarts of the world and the Starbucks of the world that are just, hey, we're this retail sector, but they have the cash and the backing to kind of support what they want to do. So in my opinion, right, I think we'll see consolidation from a startup model, but we will see kind of maybe a proliferation of different larger players come in to take a seat at the table where some of these other CPOs that will survive, right, that will kind of garner the attention and survive, like we just mentioned, like the top 5 or so.
Okay. The team tells me that they did roll the video behind, so hopefully everyone got a chance to see the app.
You guys saw that, yeah.
But I think one of the elements of the EMSP, the app that you're developing, is also home charging. And I think what we've talked about it's about 80% of drivers or owners charge at home. I certainly do most of my charging at home. Talk to me a little bit about how the ecosystem just extends beyond the public charging experience and what you're doing in that space. Yeah,
like I said earlier, I've been working in home and public charging. Responsible for several products that we've launched. And I think the most exciting one that we just launched in May is it's a product called Charge Assist. And this is like the first introduction to V1G and managed charging. And I think at a home charging level, we kind of have this like saying that we like to play around with, which is like, if we do this right, the customer never has to think, right? They never have to do anything other than just come home and plug in. And what we'll do is we'll save them money. They will charge. They will leave their house with what they need to do, because Toyota, we know how much you drive. We know where you're driving, and we know that you only need about 40 miles every day to drive. So we can manage the loads. We can work with utility companies to give you the best pricing, and we can determine like, hey, this is how much we saved you. So those are like our goals, right? Is like, if you really think about it, and it's in public charging too, if we do this right, the customer never has to think. Like all of our work that we're doing here is all based on the end consumer, which is the person that's buying the asset that drives, and that person wants to not think. They want to deal with their families. They want to cook dinner. They want to go to the baseball games, even though you guys don't watch baseball, but they liked to go to baseball games.
We can extend the panel if you like and talk about baseball and the upcoming football season as well.
We can talk about football. But that's what they want to do. And so I think if we do it the right way, we will manage both home and public pretty well.
And I think there's some interesting partnerships as well that I've seen in the news as well. WeaveGrid, Waymo, some of these companies. Maybe you can share a little bit more about how those types of partners are fitting into the ecosystem.
Yeah, I think WeaveGrid is a direct partner with the ChargeAssist product, and I think the Waymo one is more of like an announcement on something to be. Mm-hmm. But like more tangibly, Toyota is focused on e-mobility across, right? There's if you haven't heard of Joby is a joint venture investment that we've made for e-mobility taxis, right? And mm-hmm. We're working through other investments like not just public charging or e-charging. So I think the other portion of Toyota that I think is really important is. I'm going to say like we've been working on getting better on in-vehicle systems and getting better at creating that experience and ownership that improves the drive experience inside the vehicle. And I think there's a lot of things that are going to start coming up in the next 4 to 5 years as far as like Toyota really kind of taking a leap towards like replicating the experience both in and out of car, and as well as some of those partnerships that may not be announced yet. So yeah.
Okay, that's really exciting. I think we've talked about it. Toyota seems to be doing quite a lot in the space, and it's really great to have you here on stage to share some of that. It wouldn't be a discussion on the North American market without discussing kind of your views on the market more generally. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure everyone in this room has seen the headlines coming out of the US in particular at the moment, and a lot of the ones you read seem to be a little bit more pessimistic about the EVs in particular. But I'm interested to get your take on, should we be optimistic? Mm-hmm. What's the glass half full? Or should we be worried?
I think you can take it by Mr. Henry Ford. Mm-hmm. Recently, I think they recently just kind of doubled down, right?
Yep.
You could look at our battery plant investment that we just made in North Carolina. I think the influx of investment into this space, it may not make tabloid news here in Europe, but it is very, very, very important and very, telling as to what we think. And I think, I think I touched on this earlier. Toyota, it takes a lot to move us off what we're already going towards, right? When we launched Prius, just keep heads down. They called it ugly. Now everyone buys it, right? You get the plug-in into the market. People were crazy. Now people think plug-in hybrids are the next thing. Yeah. So I think you really just start seeing that continuation. It's going to keep happening, and I think the optimism is always going to be there because, we believe that the investments and the time and the ownership experience that we're building around this and the market will basically dictate what comes.
And it's a global product as well, right?
Right.
We were talking about it earlier. I want to leave about 5 minutes for questions from the audience, but maybe just one more question from me, Eric, is thank you again for coming out. I know it's your first time out here at ICNC, and curious to understand, how you've enjoyed the conference. Is there anything you've seen here that's kind of piqued your interest in terms of, I wish we did this back home, or this is something I can take back to the team at Toyota North America?
Yeah, I think Chris said it really well on the opening statement, right? It's like collaboration. In North America, this collaboration is still kind of coming together. I think it's, you go to the Hangar 7 and you see all the different companies and, the different opportunities and the way that this experience and this industry is still building. I think us taking that back is the collaboration point. I think like North America, right, we could do a better job of like working together, seeing different ways of being able to, define that ultimate goal.
Yeah, I think it's very unusual back home to have competitors in a room talking about how they can push the industry further.
Yes.
So sounds like a good lead into ICNC North America if it ever goes ahead, right? We have 5 minutes left. I would love to take some questions from the audience. We'll throw it open and happy to ask Eric questions about his socks as well.
Tacos. Anything? All right.
Question over here? No.
You have anything on the app thing? What do you got?
We can continue talking about the app if you like, yeah.
Well, I was saying, do you have anything on the the app from the questions?
Yeah, I think regional differences is probably the other one to touch upon. Whether you see, cross-border travel, for example, is really big here. We have Canada, obviously, the United States and Mexico, but I guess how are you looking at, roaming and regional differences in the United States or and Canada and Mexico? Or
good question.
Or do you see it as one market?
No, I mean, I think I hope people realize that it is, three major countries, right? We have U.S. and Canada and Mexico, and each one are in their own stages of this journey. And I think where Toyota Motor North America is kind of the North American responsible for those countries, they have their own challenges and interoperability issues, and a lot of that relates in the payment side. A lot of that relates into the different taxes that are required by the different countries. Probably I'm speaking to choir here because it's the same within your but for us it's only two, really. So I think the difference is like when a customer drives from, which is rare, unless you live in like Buffalo, which is on the border of Canada and Niagara Falls, you're not really going between two countries very often. Yeah. And so it's a little bit more standard. It's a little bit more easier for us to be flexible, and it's a little bit better for planning for our digital system that we have. So I mean, I think it'll happen, right? As more EVs come, we will have to solve for it. But as of right now, it's more of like how do we solve it in a low use case, kind of edge case sort of situation.
Okay, makes sense. Any other question? Any questions from the audience? Happy to take them. If not, Eric and I can continue chatting. It seems like everyone had a big night last night.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you'd like to raise, Eric, before we wrap?
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Question here.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Sorry, Jacob, coming from Kia Europe.
Hi.
Question to the gentleman. You've mentioned about ownership experience and people charging mostly at home. When you take Tesla, they provide power, stationary power supply, power walls, thank you. They provide wall boxes, they provide all these things. With the future moving towards V2G, V1G, is Toyota also thinking of this, especially if you say 80% charge at home? Is this something you think is to be tackled by Toyota or something to be left for other players in the industry?
Yeah, in the North American market, you can already see GM with their Ultium platform. You can see Ford. They're giving away free chargers. I'm not going to just come out and say this is what our plan is. But I don't think it's too far to connect the dots. I think the OEM, right, has a role to play in the ownership experience because the Toyota brand is a very, again, right, you just invested $50,000 into us. If we put our brand on something, you expect performance, reliability, and the asset should continue to grow with you, right? So, I think you'll see a lot of opportunity in home charging coming, and especially in the North American market. Yeah. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Any other questions? Any other topics you'd like to discuss, Eric?
I'm
if
good.
not, I think
It's hot up here, guys.
It is boiling, by the way.
Yeah.
I was given the option to take my jacket off, and I probably should have. But if that's it, then I think thank you very much for making it out here, and I appreciate you joining me on stage for the fireside chat.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.